Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It's that time of week again, MLB Power Rankings. The Dodgers and the Braves are currently in the bottom of the ninth, tied 2-2. And you know me, I kind of want to get this video out before it's too late in the night, and so we're not going to have that game finish. Otherwise, we normally do it halfway through that game, but I went deep in a poker tournament tonight, and unfortunately did not take that down. So a little sad about that, but I got to get the power rankings out. Not too much else to go over. Just if you want to join the community, join the Discord down below or follow me along on Twitter. I'm on there tweeting every single day. But let's get to it. Number 30. Sticking down there, we got the Oakland A's 0-3 in Seattle. They went 2-1 against the Royals over the weekend, so they did finally win a series. Fortunately, not too much changed. Realistically, this bottom row, a lot the same over the past couple weeks, so we're going to pretty much motor through it. Number 29, we got the Washington Nationals, 1-1 against Baltimore, 2-1 against Texas. So they had a little bit of a winning week, but it's going to take more than a week to really dig their way out of the gutter. They put a lot of weeks together there, pretty mediocre, even though they beat this team. Number 28, Kansas City Royals, they went 2-1 against the Angels, 1-2 against Oakland. So even though they lost Oakland, I still got them ahead. It's one series, and it's almost a split, 1-2, right? So not too much of a deal. I think Kansas City is more ahead of these two teams in terms of their rebuild, in terms of how they'll be in the next couple of years. That's pretty much what you're looking at in this bottom row, right? Number 27, we got Cincinnati Reds. Playing spoiler this week, they got swept by the Dodgers, but then they went 2-1 against the Giants over the weekend, playing spoiler and really smacking a lot today in the rubber match. So Reds pretty much playing spoiler. They're in a division where they can take some strides to be at least a middling team, but right now I do consider them much to be the worst there. 26, Colorado Rockies 0-3 against Miami, 1-2 against Minnesota. Just another poor week for the Rockies. I feel like I've been saying that a lot. Could see them drop even further if this keeps up. They do have the tough division on the National League side that they get beat up a lot, and from the most part, they had that good April, but April's now in the rear view mirror quite a few months, so Rockies pretty much down and out. Next up, we got Chicago Cubs, 1-3 against Pittsburgh. They won the series against the Cardinals over the weekend, so the Cubs seem to be able to put two games together every once in a while to win a series, so they got that going for them, but over the long term, they're a losing team, and they got a lot of work to do to be able to be in the competition with the Brewers, with the Cardinals in the long term. Sure, they won this weekend, but I'm not putting a whole lot into that. Number 24, we got those Pirates I was just talking about, how they went 3-1 against the Cubs, and then they go against Tampa Bay Rays and they get swept. Pirates are just a wild team this year. For the most part, they get smashed by the good teams. They did put up a pretty good fight against the Dodgers a couple weeks ago, if we all recall. But they do beat up on these lowly teams, so it's pretty interesting. It's kind of like a AAA team coming into form in the middle there. It was nice to watch O'Neal Cruz making his debut this season as well over the past week. So, number 23, Detroit Tigers 0-3 against Boston, 2-1 against Arizona. Same kind of story. They get absolutely destroyed by good teams, Boston being an example, and they put up good fights against mediocre teams, 2-1 against Arizona. They got to be pretty happy by that. But all these teams we're talking about out of the playoffs at this point. Number 22, those Arizona Diamondbacks 0-3 against San Diego, 1-2 against Detroit. I guess really we could swap these two, but I just like how Arizona's played the entire amount of the season compared to Detroit, so I am giving them a slight edge there. We'll see. Arizona, at least to me, is a little bit further along in their rebuild too, because Detroit's just it's not working. We'll see how that goes. 21, Seattle, 3-0 against Oakland, and they went 2-1 against the Angels over the weekend, and they have Baltimore and Oakland next week, so that's pretty interesting to watch. In the power rankings wise, we're going to get to Baltimore in a minute, so I think they met up a couple weeks ago, if I recall, and Seattle took that one. So, but Baltimore's been a little bit hotter since then, Seattle. And then we have them against Oakland. So if they put up a winning week, we're going to see them pretty much go up. Otherwise, I think Seattle's hit rock bottom, as it were. I think we had them lower by 1 last week, but that's probably rock bottom. I don't see how Seattle could go much lower than where they are right now. Number 20. Speaking of hitting rock bottom, we got the Chicago White Sox 2-1 against Toronto, and then they had 1-3 against Baltimore over the weekend. So that was a really rough series. They luckily snuck one win out. Otherwise, it's been a disastrous season for the White Sox. honestly, though, they're in a division where they have a shot. And if they go on a 10-game win streak or like win 18 of 20, we're going to see them skyrocket up these power rankings. They're pretty much in the bottom of where they're going to be. So this is kind of like a division here of teams that technically can get back into the race. I don't think any of these teams can, but we're starting to talk about some teams that might. Number 19, another team that's just been poor performing. 1-2 against Kansas City, 1-2 against Seattle. They've just been free falling since I think they were in ninth. About a month ago, they were in ninth. They've just been falling, and we're starting to hit that point of teams that were at one point or another in the conversations for playoffs, but now they're just disaster. But let's turn the page to number 18. Welcome to the third row, Baltimore Orioles. 1-1 against Washington, 3-1 against the White Sox. A winning week, 4-2 over the week. Baltimore's turning the page. So unlike the teams below them who had shots and kind of blew it, Baltimore's had a pretty rough start. They were 300 winning percentage, and they've kicked and clawed their way back, and technically they're in a wild card race. I think 5 or 6 games out, but they're in it. They do have the toughest division, and they are by far the best team. That's the worst team in their division, so they do got that going for them. Maybe playing all these better teams in them is going to help them against these middling teams, and who knows? Keep your eye on these O's. Something could happen. Number 17, we got Texas Rangers. 2-0 against Philly, 1-2 against Washington. Just a little 5-game week for them. Losing to Washington kind of sucks, but the main difference for me here between them and the O's, they do have the positive run differential over the whole season. They are third place or second place in their division, so they do have that. But, you know, that division is pretty weak as we've been seeing. That's the big difference here. So it does bump them up a little bit. Number 16, we got the Miami Marlins. Definition of average, 3-0 against Colorado, 1-2 against the Mets, and they lost to the Mets on Monday. So they played the Mets Monday, then they went to Colorado, and then they played the Mets again, going 1-3 total against the Mets. I think I say this every week. They're the definition of average. They're right there, smack dab in the middle. Pretty much all I got to say about Miami. Really, if you think about it, I think these two teams might have a better shot at playoffs than Miami. But if they faced each other, I think Miami's the better team. So, like, kind of why they're sitting where they are. Number 15, we got Cleveland, 2-1 against Minnesota, 0-3 against Boston. So this was a week for Cleveland to really make a name for themselves this season. They were, at one point, division leaders. Believe it or not, the Guardians were division leaders. But they lost the series to Minnesota. Then they get swept by Boston. They're pretty much, their momentum has slowed down. So they're kind of teetering on the side now. Whether they're going to go up or down, that remains to be seen, but it's hard to believe that they're going to stay right there in the middle. We'll see how that one goes for the Guardians. Number 14, Giants. 1-3 against Atlanta, 1-2 against Cincinnati. So just slowly but surely, the Giants have been falling down the rankings, almost like one a week for like the past couple of weeks, and I can't really stop the slide. They don't go on winning streaks. They're in a tough division, and at this rate, they're out of the playoff race. Or not race, they're in the race. They're out of the playoff spot, and it's definitely up for concern today. Definitely losing the Reds, getting smacked up by Atlanta, but we'll get to them in a minute. Number 13, we got the Philadelphia Phillies, 0-2 against Texas, 3-1 against San Diego. So a big winning series against a much better team than them. Philly's been pretty hot over the past month. The only unfortunate side of it is the two teams ahead of them in their division have, A, the Braves have been hotter, and B, the Mets have been hotter at one point earlier in the season, and they continue to win, of course. So that gap's getting harder to close, and a couple more teams to jump, but they're right there on the borderline of wild card. We can see them in the wild card, and that's what they're going to be fighting for. They're going to be in it the rest of the year. Number 12, Tampa Bay Rays, 1-2 against the Yankees. They swept Pittsburgh, so the tables have kind of turned. They used to have the Yankees number, at least the past 2 years, winning those games so often by one run. But this season, the Yankees have been pretty unstoppable. Rays, just it's an important week for them coming up, that's for sure. I believe they play Toronto and Boston, or Toronto schedules the Rays in Boston, so we'll get to them right now. Number 11, we got Toronto, 1-2 against the White Sox, 1-2 against Milwaukee. Losing week, and there's a lot of concern for me, especially as a Jays fan, with the Jays right now. Their pitching is very questionable. There's a lot of wondering what Kikuchi's going to go on. Barrios has been a disaster this season. And their offense has had quite a few bouts of just being straight up cold and not carrying them to win like we saw them do last year. So the Jays right now, they're sitting in a playoff spot. Division's tough. The Rays right on their heels. We could very well see 4 teams from this American League East in the playoffs. Number 10, one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest team in baseball right now, 3-0 against Detroit, 3-0 against Cleveland. A perfect week for the Red Sox. And since they hit bottom, they've just catapulted up the rankings, and they're sitting on number 10. And honestly, they can keep going up. Give them the edge over the Jays right now, because the Jays just don't have the momentum that Boston has. Even though Jays won more of the games earlier in the season when they met head-to-head, this week is going to be very telling whether the Jays are in this for the long run, or rather Boston's going to keep this momentum going. Number 9. It's a very questionable number 9. 1-2 against Cleveland, 2-1 against Colorado, but I think I have to. I think Boston did beat them recently, but they beat the Jays, they beat Tampa, and they're leading their division. So right now they're a team force to be reckoned with. They won they won the series over the weekend against a weaker team. Until otherwise, they're kind of there. I don't think there's too much of a room for them to go up too much, unless they just start running away and start beating those teams above them, which for the most part they have not shown. It's usually a split. Number 8. We got the Milwaukee Brewers, 2-2 against St. Louis, 2-1 against Toronto. Pretty good week, and maybe go up one spot. They split the series with St. Louis, and that's where this whole race comes down to. I'll just put them up next. Number 7, we got St. Louis Cardinals. Those two teams played. They're going to be battling all season long. They're pretty much neck and neck in the playoff race. The division race, both teams are likely making the playoffs either way, but winning the division could be big. But I don't think either one of them is going to get a bye. So that's kind of right where they're at. We're going to see they're going to have a tough matchup probably in that first round, actually. Whoever wins the division. They might even play each other. It's going to be interesting. Number 6, moving back up to the first row, and a long time 3-1 against San Fran. They're in extras right now, unless they walked it off in the bottom of the 9th. I can't see over there, but they're on fire. Braves, ever since they got a tuner back, they just went on fire. The team's been good. The pitching's been good. They're forced to be reckoned with. Ex-World Series champs. Let's not forget it. They're back, probably. They're going to deserve that 6th spot going forward. Number 5, San Diego Padres. 3-0 against Arizona, 1-3 against Philly. Smashed Arizona. Had a little bit of struggle with Philly. I didn't watch any of that series, I'll be honest. Just watched the box scores, so don't know how close it was. But you're going to lose series along the way, and we'll see how San Diego bounces back. It's going to be tough. I think Atlanta's the only one that really has a shot at passing them, at least at this point, unless one of those teams start to really break away from the race. Number 4, Dodgers. 3-0, they smashed Cincinnati early in the week. And then, like I just said about Atlanta, split the series, and now they're playing. It doesn't really change much. Even if Atlanta wins this game, I'm not going to hop on that, because Atlanta had that long struggle for May, April that the Dodgers have not had. Number 3, we got the New York Mets, 0-2 against Houston, 2-1 against Miami. So Houston beats them early in the week, and then they do win against Miami. I talked about it earlier in the video. They played Miami again also on the Monday. So the Mets, they had that division really locked up, but the Braves have really been surging. So I do have a little bit of concern whether they can hold the top tier. Missing Scherzer has really dampened their chance of rolling these consecutive wins. That's a big hole in their lineup. I know they're going to be excited when he's back in full throttle. Number 2, moving up, we got the Houston Astros, 2-1 against Tampa, 2-2 against the Yankees over the weekend. So a good week for them. Sorry, not against Tampa. They went against the Mets, right? So Houston continues to roll. That division lead keeps growing, and they're a strong team. There's a reason that we see them in the finals year after year, deep in the playoffs, etc. Number 1, staying on top, 2-2 against the Stros, and then they went 2-1 against Tampa. And there you have it, guys. The Yankees maintain their lead. I was thinking about maybe if Houston won, but they blew it today, whether Houston might go into number 1. But let's be honest, the Yankees have just been crushing all season long. It would have been very hard for me to just be like one series that they lose, technically the team in 3rd at the time, that I'd just drop them out. Because right now they are probably still very much strongest. we'll see. Keep an eye on those two teams. Let me know what you guys think. Where do you guys have different teams, and where am I just completely up to lunch? Let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Peace out.